Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you get to listen to this on Valentine's Day. If you didn't listen to it, because Valentine's Day can be very busy.
Somebody's probably listening to it like in June.
Well, then we hope you had a happy Valentine's Day.
Hey, if you have a great marriage, every day is Valentine's Day, okay?
Exactly. Heart Day, I love you day.
Okay, whatever. We're going to talk about marriage today.
That's a good topic to talk about on Valentine's Day.
In this podcast season 6, we are talking about the 5 types of relationships in your home. We're talking about relationships a lot. What are the 5 types of relationships? Parent to God, marriage, parent to kid, kid to kid, kid to God. If you've been around Crazy Cool Family long enough, you should memorize those. You should memorize the 5 types of relationships and look at our family dashboard. If you don't know where it is, look into, you can go into Base Camp if you're already there. Get our book. It's in there. All kinds of places we do. Family dashboard, 5 types of relationships. And like Suzanne said, today we are going to talk about the second relationship, which is marriage.
Yeah, so our marriage verse, Don, what is the verse that you picked out for us when we were getting married?
Ephesians 4:32, which is be kind and compassionate, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you. That was our verse on our wedding.
Yes, and I remember Don picked it out, and I was like, well, what do you mean? Do you not think that we're kind and compassionate to each other? Do you think we're going to have a whole marriage of needing to forgive each other? And my goodness, was he right.
Was that prophetic?
Oh, yes, very. 32 years in, and we definitely have needed that verse.
Kind
and
compassionate.
And forgiveness. So much forgiveness has been needed. And so we give that verse to you today. And so the kind of the format of this podcast is we have asked people to send in questions. And so here are some of the questions that have been sent in when it comes to marriage. Then they were asking one of the questions is, how did you guys invest time in your marriage? And so we're just going to answer some of those questions today.
Yep. And a quick advertisement. You got to wait till the end for it. But we are going to tell you about some brand new resources that are coming out, or they're out already actually. But anyway, so just don't turn us off, because at the end you are going to, and I might even have a special offer for you. So if you stay to the end, not going to tell you about
a Valentine's treat.
Maybe it's not going to be chocolate.
Okay, so these questions, we're so excited, and if you have any questions, please send them in to, is it info@crazycoolfamily, or should they send it to
info at Crazy Cool Family, or podcast at Crazy Cool Family?
Yeah.
We look at both of those emails, and that's where a lot of our emails come in from people like you.
Yeah.
And so, send it in.
And we love questions. We love answering questions. So back to the question. So how did you invest time in your marriage? I'm assuming they are saying if you have a bunch of small children and you can't eat dinner together because you're interrupted constantly by them talking, or maybe the person that's asking this question is they have a teenager and one person goes to bed and the other person waits up late. And I don't know, but we can tell you what we've done along the way.
I have 3 words for parents to answer this question, and that is leave your kids. I think that I think that society is moving more and more today to where we think we can't leave our kids, or we don't work towards leaving our kids. Be that with our parents, with our, getting a babysitter, getting away for a weekend, getting away for even a night or a date night. Oh my goodness, leave your kids.
Well, we didn't do this, but there's a big trend that's going out right now, and I'm not going to give a pro or con for it. But kids are in your marriage bed. I mean, they're in your bed with you. And so for me, that didn't work because I needed my sleep and I couldn't sleep with that little body snuggled up next to me. I put a pillow between me and Don when we sleep because I need my space. But I would even say that would apply to leave your kids out of your bed or go to another bed, to enjoy your marriage.
I just think that, that even when we had 3 babies in 3.5 years, we had the kids 2, 3, and 4, and then and even then, I mean, we would make nights, weekend. I mean, we're not every month or whatever, but I mean, we just made a point to get away. And I know that's harder for some parents than other because maybe you don't have family here or you have disengaged family relationships or whatever. But I just really advise parents figure it out. Figure out something that makes it work.
Why was that? I know it was valuable for me, but why was that valuable for you as the husband to go out, spend money, be paying for a babysitter? So you're spending, so you're out, you walk out the door and you've dropped $100.
I mean, let me even give you an idea on that. I'll answer that question in just a second. But I mean, like, trade with a couple. Hey, we're going to go out and spend the night in a hotel tonight. You're going to watch our kids, put them to bed, whatever. And then, we'll do it the next night. There's no one can give me no parent can give me a scenario usually where they just can't do it, and
you mean you could break it down and make it happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if there's no funds?
Well, then, somebody to, and I mean, sometimes we just have to ask, this is where being in a church, being in a small group, hey, we really want to get away. And, maybe, like I say, maybe you trade off with people or whatever. If you want to do it, make it happen. And so, and really just, don't let, so many times we create obstacles, I think, that are there. But you were asking like what the benefit of it is still. I mean, it's easier now. We have one teenager left at home. So
we don't pay a babysitter anymore.
That's right. We
don't have that cost.
He drives.
Sometimes we share a meal, so we don't have much of a cost there.
I think it's beneficial because one, the time that you can spend in just sanity, being away from kids, especially when they're young, but also just the the planning you can do. You can really start to talk about it's very difficult day to day to talk about the future, we talk a lot at Crazy Cool Family about talking about values, what's important to you and what's coming up that we really want to, talking about the relationships in your home. Those things happen when you go on a date night. Those things happen when you go on a retreat. Those things happen when you go on a marriage weekend or whatever, go to a conference. And, it stimulates things to that are more, long-term in nature, I think.
Yeah. And so I love.
What about you?
Well, yeah, I love the man's brain because that's where he goes. He's building a life with his partner, with his playmate, with his.
His team,
with his teammate, exactly.
Well, not just team, but I mean building with his kids too, and figuring out the vision for the kids. It's building the whole team, not just a marriage team.
Exactly. The date is investing in that marriage relationship, that teammate. That's what, and I just love it that's the perspective that the man comes from. I love that. And so for the female, I think a lot of the times for us, we value, like you had said initially, getting away from the kids. And I think we underestimate how
exhausted.
How much we love our children when we get a break from them.
Yeah.
When we get to come away from them. I mean, and then to have the attention of our spouse, because we get attention all day long, but it's attention, that at our knees, or attention because they need something. But the attention from our spouse when he says, you look so beautiful. And just when, so husbands hear that when you shower your wife with that attention, then that fills our cup up. I mean, that fills us with what we need. When we get a break from the household, the responsibility, somebody else fixes us dinner, somebody else cleans it up, and we don't have to clean up anything. I mean, it's a lovely break, and then yes, that adult conversation that you're talking about, Don, that dreaming, that taking us to the future and beyond the day-to-day hassle of what's going on. It just kind of resets the whole stage of, oh, that's right. That's why this is worth it. That's why we're doing this.
Well, and it's not just time away. I mean, date nights are great. a night away.
Date nights
great.
are a must.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just say great. They are a must. If your marriage is, if you don't feel connected with your spouse, a date night is one of the first ways to fix that.
And another thing that we did that I mean, parents, we get parents all over the board with this, but I'm pretty much an advocate of it, is we went to bed together a lot of times. I mean, I would say not every night, but there's a lot of parents that are in the habit, and I would say in the habit of not going to bed together. So they do go to bed together, but infrequently.
Yes. And so, I mean, and that is something that I think I came down hard on in the beginning of our marriage because my parents didn't. And my parents ended up being divorced. And so, and I remember that Don and I came from these two different lives. And I remember that you would stay in the living room and you would sleep in your little recliner, or you would sit in your recliner, and I would go to bed because I was exhausted because I was teaching school, and you would fall asleep in the recliner and then you wouldn't go to bed. And I don't remember exactly what the conversation was, but I remember you and I deciding it's valuable for us to go to bed together.
And I'm telling like dads, whoever, many times somebody isn't early. I would go to bed earlier if I was married to a different person.
Well, if you were married to a person that went to bed earlier.
Yeah, but I'm saying
I was about to say, because you could be married to a different person that goes to bed late.
My point is that, yeah, but I mean, my point is that, yeah, exactly. But I mean, my point is that if I chose to go to bed later so that I could go to bed with my spouse.
Right.
In this case, I have been the one that chose to do something different, and she has stayed the same, pretty much. I mean, I've adjusted more in that because I would have...
I do think it's probably different through the seasons as well. And so know that for your marriage as well, that maybe if you're an exhausted mom and you're going to bed early and your husband wants to stay up late, then just know that the next season might be different.
Well,
and so
I'm just saying, like, are you going to be the one? Here's what I'll say to that. I believe in this. I'm not bragging on myself. I'm making a point here that I believe I'm the one that sacrificed more in this case. However, it's been worth it. And so my challenge to parents it doesn't matter whether you're the man or the woman. Obviously, I challenge men to be a servant and to do things, but it's like, what are you going to do? Or is it, do you value, we talk a lot at Crazy Cool Family about what do you value? Do you value processing with your spouse at the end of the day?
It's so good.
Okay. And if you do, maybe, both of you can agree on it, but who knows? Are you going to be the one to sacrifice? Are you going to be the one to make the call and say, you know what? Even if my spouse wants to go to bed early, then I don't like going to bed early, but maybe all you do is you go to bed with them and talk to them a little while, and then you step and read. But you're going to shut down.
It's great.
What is it? I don't know what the creative alternative is, but that's one way to answer that question, investing time in your marriage.
Yes, and I would say that going to bed together completely raises your chances and or opportunity of getting lucky.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. Here we go. There's Valentine's Day. Let's see, birthdays, Christmas. There's at least a few days in there.
Guaranteed. So another one that's kind of like when it comes to investing time in your marriage or investing into your marriage is going to bed together. Next one is to sit next to each other. And I know that's a silly little thing. And a lot of the times parents will book in their kids and put all their kids in between them. But for me, it just is valuable that my husband's sitting next to me, that that I pick him first and he picks me first. We're each other's first, and then come the children. And so if we want to hold hands where we're sitting, whether that's at church or at a restaurant or at a movie, anywhere, we're going to, it actually is to the point where it feels odd when we don't sit next to each other.
Yep.
And so that's one that I just think is an easy way to honor your spouse.
So next question is, how did you learn your spouse? Let me ask you a question, Suzanne. Would you say that we know each other? 32 years in, would you say that we know each other? On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do I know you and how well do you know me? And maybe look over the 30 years and see what is it now and where was it? What would you say to that question?
Yeah, and so to answer it backwards, to start with, I would say that we know each other pretty well. I would rank us pretty high up there. I would go, no lower than 8, probably 9, and there's situations that I would say are 10 plus that you know me. And I think it's definitely evolved. I mean, completely. At the beginning of our marriage, when we were getting married, the pastor that married us was my pastor of my church, and I babysat for him, and I knew him, and he was like, "You should not get married. You two don't know each other. You two are not enough of alike. There's things that are radically different from each other." And I would say that he was correct in that
we shouldn't have gotten married.
No, not that part. In the part that we were radically different, and our differences were going to be difficult. But I think that what made the difficulty not be so difficult that we shouldn't get married, that we didn't, that we survived. Not only did we survive marriage, but we have thrived in marriage. I would say we are better because of our marriage. Is because we learned each other. We got to know each other. And it's just because, in the beginning, I tried to make you like me and you tried to make me like you. But along the way, we decided, no, you should be you and I should learn about you. Yeah. What are you like? And I remember reading the books, the how to have a new husband by Friday. And it was actually all about me, or making sense of men. Reading book after book about trying to understand men and you.
Well, and so a couple of things with that. One of them is our marriage has gotten better by the decade. I would say that's what I really say is that. And so I say that to encourage Christian couples who may be struggling in their marriage that, man, our first 5 to 10 years were kind of tough. In terms of lots of kids coming, we didn't know each other. We were being discipled, so that helped. I always say that the best thing you can do is go love Jesus first. So we were that was probably the saving grace of our first decade, was really that we were growing in the Lord. And so we were growing in our ways. We served each other and we were trying to knit our family together, things like that.
And remember our verse, be kind and compassionate. And I do think we were that to each other. Like didn't have knockdown dragouts. We didn't fight. We were never dishonoring to each other. And I think because of
some pretty big conflicts those first 10 years, though. As I'm thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. No, I could rattle them all off right now. But I'm just saying that, but they didn't last a long time. And while we might have been wounded from them, they're not wounds that we have carried to today. Not like leaving each other.
So I think the second decade of marriage, we really started. I think the second decade is when we switched to, this lady's pretty cool. I need to start to figure her out and explore how to make her better rather than to make her like me. And then I think you did the same thing. Hey, the fact that my husband is forgetful and doesn't notice when all the dishes are, in the dish. He
doesn't notice my new hairdo, but he also doesn't notice that the house is a mess. It's a win.
That's okay. We started to think that way. And then the third decade, from years 20 to 30, we really started to explore each other, emotionally, physically, even emotionally, spiritually, and really start to learn love at a new level. So marriage, and for us, marriage has been the toughest line on our relationship. We have worked hard at our marriage, and the pastor was right that because we are very different and different things. We enjoy different things. What we have big in common is God and family.
Yeah.
But what we don't have in common is interest and
the way we think. He's an extrovert. I'm an introvert.
Things,
He's a thinker feeler. Yeah. All the different things. He's a doer. I'm a server. Yeah. All those things. So yeah. One of the things that helped us learn each other just recently within the last 5 years was the Enneagram. And got that book. Dawn's a 3 on the Enneagram. I'm a 2. And so when I went through and studied that he was an achiever, it was like an aha moment, because there were things that he would do, because that's the way he was wired, that hurt my feelings or made me feel rejected because I'm a 2. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's not rejecting me. He's just doing what he does. And to see that and realize, and then another one was the 5 love languages, and learning that. And even over our 30 years, I would say those have changed a little bit along the way, and they're not even the same as they were. But to know that's how I can invest in my spouse was very valuable. And so even reading some books, that's another way we invested in our marriage and we learned our spouse, was reading How to Be Married. I mean, what is that? How do you interact with your spouse? How do you, understand and get along with the opposite sex?
Yeah, and so I don't know whether you are a marriage that is 3 years old or 13 years old or 23 years old or 53 years old. My father just passed away recently, and my parents were 8 days shy of 70 years of marriage. What a great goal. What a great goal. They were, and one of the things they said about my dad at his funeral was he was good to my mom, and he really was. He was, my dad wasn't the most tolerant person. He would definitely
Patient.
He would definitely get angry at times especially with little kids and things like that. But you know what? He didn't get angry with my mom, and he treated her well. And I think there's so much in that of choosing to, learn your spouse, treat your spouse. One of the things as we look at the theme of, even relationships in general is be a learner. It drives me insane when guys come to me with marriage issues, and I'm like, what are you doing to learn your spouse and learn how to be a husband and a father even? Well, I read a book one time. I'm like, okay, like if your son was going to play baseball, are you going to have him read a book and see if he can do that? I mean, this is your marriage.
Right.
What are you going to do? Let me say it again. This is your marriage.
Right.
What are you going to do to invest in learning about your spouse and learning how to be a great husband?
Mm-hmm.
And so often that means it's just the blocking and tackling. It's going to bed together, a lot of nights. It's taking time to do a date night. It's just, listening to your spouse instead of talking over her, or each other, not just her.
Right.
I mean, but so often we are so good with it. One of the things I learned, I think that was really beneficial is I don't need to give Suzanne advice. I really don't. I needed to. I always had the answer for her, and over time I learned that, maybe I should ask more questions. Maybe I should let her speak more and explore more and understand better before, there's a book a long time ago, Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand before being understood. It's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. That applies to marriage. Let's do that.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that has shifted in our marriage now is that we used to come from a place where we were right. I mean, I was right. My perspective's right. My opinion's right. My attitude, whatever is right about this situation. Whether it's I told you that. No, you didn't tell me that. I told you that. And I appreciate it now because we're actually both coming from a place of, what, I don't know. I don't know if I told you that or not. I'm sorry. I don't know if I put that on the calendar. I'm sorry. And so it's been a sweet place for us to connect with instead of being accusing and, holier than thou and all that stuff. It's almost like we're submitting to each other. And that is one of the things that's linked us together as well.
Here's something, it's like, how did you benefit from your spouse investing in your marriage, learning you? Suzanne talked about the Enneagram, and that was really, there was a season, or there's been seasons where, I felt like I couldn't do anything right, that I couldn't get it right. And I feel like that as she has studied me more and learned where I'm coming from more, that suddenly, not suddenly, but over time, I really feel like I've been, I tell her over the last several years, I'm like, I feel like I hadn't changed that much, but you have accepted me a lot more. And that's, so I really think that's where, when you invest in your spouse, that they will feel more accepted. That's kind of the way I feel about the last several years. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's definitely accurate. I mean, I do think that you too have changed, and so I don't want it to come across as I've done a thing and I've done all this work. Not at all. But
I just did the bedtime thing. I sacrificed there, but that was it. That's all I did.
Drew the line. And pay for dates.
That's
you
right.
pay for dates.
Yeah, and vacations for that matter.
Exactly. No, I think that I think it's super super important, like to change our perspective, and I think that that's where I've had great success when it comes to the interactions in our marriage, because I had these ideals and these expectations that Don could never meet. Poor guy. I mean, there was a certain way that I wanted him to respond to me. If I was angry, I had a certain way I wanted him to respond. And if I was sad, and I would tell him that's how I wanted him to respond, but that wasn't who he was. He didn't think like that. Believe it or not, he didn't think like me. And so therefore he didn't ever respond like that. And then he would get upset when I told him to respond and told him what I needed and the way I needed it, because it's like, that's not how I do it, though. And so for me, it's when I died to those ideals and expectations that I had on him and the way he communicated with me. And instead, what I did was I just interpreted what he was saying and how he was saying it into what I needed to hear. When he says, when he walks in and says something like, "You're wearing a blue shirt. I hear you look beautiful." I mean, because he's observing, he's noticing. Notice we talked about it earlier. He doesn't observe the sink full of dishes, and so for him to walk in the room and notice something means you look beautiful. I noticed you is what it means, and so that's what I hear. And so it's I just think it's powerful as spouses if there's something that's we have assigned is not right. If we will go in and do the work ourselves and do what it takes for us to see it as right, then it becomes right. And then, as Don Ward said, he felt like he never could do anything right, and now he feels like he can. Because now it doesn't matter what he does. I perceive it as right.
Yeah, and I think that's just a really good takeaway for all the parents, for all the marriage partners today, is that look at intent. So often, even one of the things that's been true of our marriage, and it may not be true of all marriages, and I definitely think there's sometimes we can get a lot of bitterness into marriage, and there's some things that need to be healed. But so often I find in our marriage and a lot of marriages I see that it's not very often that the husband or the wife is deliberately trying to hurt the spouse.
Right.
They're not, as they at worst, they may be not thinking about the spouse, and that needs to be addressed and all that. But so often we assign negative motives to good intentions.
Yes.
And that's where things that Suzanne's talking about is really look at your own, maybe we've already had a bad day. And then, therefore, no matter what our spouse does when they come in, it's filtered through our bad day. There's nothing they can do right. And all of a sudden and then we do things that we don't want to do. Well, how do we change that? It's just really trying to give them what Suzanne and I talk about a lot is, let's give each other the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. Let's believe that they are trying to do, even if they don't do it the right way, maybe look behind it a little bit and ask, what was their intent and motive? Mm-hmm. And then I think that's so often lets us be more tolerant and more be kind and compassionate with one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you.
Yeah, I think that one of the tracks that I run in my head pretty consistently now is we're on the same team.
Yeah.
We're on the same team. We're going to, instead of being against each other about this situation, what is it going to take for me to be on the same side with him and then the situation be on the other side?
What if you believe that your spouse is for you?
Exactly.
What if when you see them walk in the door, you think, wow, as they
there's my teammate.
My spouse is for me. He or she is not against me. Mm-hmm. And then now let's flip that, and the way you can have your spouse think that more, tell them that, yeah. I am for you. I want the best for you. Help me figure out how that is. And then, over time that helps too for them to believe that.
Yeah. Okay. We can wrap this up, but it just made me think I just remember one time me ranting and raving with my expectations and you saying, "Hey, I'm a pretty good guy. I'm okay."
Done that more than once actually.
And I'm like, Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And so if I get into like a negative downward spiral, then I just start thinking of, yes, but Don does this and he's anyway.
I'm kind of a loser in these areas, but overall, I'm really good, I mean, and so, yeah, exactly. Hey, I want to leave you with one thing overall, what we want to leave you with tonight is be a learner. Be a learner about your spouse and be a learner about how to be a spouse.
Oh, yeah.
And those two things. So you can, that's what should go on the Instagram feed, on the Facebook feed, is to be a learner about your spouse and be a learner about being a spouse.
And so, yeah, pay attention to them, study them, ask questions.
I want to end with something that is really next level. And so,
is this the exciting thing?
Nope,
not yet.
I'm not even that. This is still in marriage. The exciting thing is about product, but this is really, I want to, I just feel like just kind of a word from the Lord here. It's something that I've been processing through the last year or so that's super helpful to me is, so Jesus tells us to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, and mind. He says the second commandment's like the first one, love our neighbor as ourselves. Who is our most important neighbor? And that is our wives or husband, our spouse. So here's the deep part. However your spouse, you're supposed to love your spouse. I mean, it is an action of love. It is something that you do. It is something that you be. It's something that you are doing with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. So however your spouse reacts to you, however your spouse treats you in a marriage relationships that's put together by God is exactly how God's working in your life that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you see, when you see how your spouse responds to you, realize that's the hand of God in your life trying to get you trying to get you to see God in a certain way, trying to get you to see life in a certain way, trying to get you to, Romans 8:28 says God works all things to the good of those who love him. We're with our spouse every day. The things they keep doing over and over, that's God working in us to create something new. He wants to create something new, and however your spouse, and that's the deep part, because when we can see even the negative things our spouse does to us, perceived negative, as the hand of God in our lives, it's so much easier to turn around and be kind and compassionate to them and forgiving them and asking forgiveness for our own, because we literally see their actions toward us as the hand of God in our lives. So just something, again, I know that's deep, but I've been working on it, and it really does help me flip my thinking about loving everyone that God brings in my life. Today we're talking about our spouse, and so, that's the most important person that we love.
Hand of God, deep.
Yeah, it is. So, all right, here's our special offer. If you go
we should have
to
some special music playing right now.
I know we should. I mean, probably Macy can do that for us.
Macy, add music.
Yeah, exactly. It's maybe a theme from Rocky or something. So I don't know why I came up with themes from Rocky, but anyway, we have introduced, you go to Amazon. Best thing to do is go to Amazon, type in Don and Suzanne Manning, and look at all the stuff that we've come out with over the last, but two things in particular are our guidebooks. And we have two guidebooks. And if you know Crazy Cool Family, one of them's on culture and one of them's on relationships. And they are two 6-session guidebooks I want to have in every Christian parent's library in the world, actually, because I think between our book and these two guidebooks, it's this thing you need in your library to go over and to complete the 6 sessions, and then to do them. Just always have them there to go back through them. And there's so many things that each session takes about 30 to 45 minutes. They're interactive. They have places you can journal. I can brag on them because mainly Suzanne authored them more than I did. Suzanne and Macy did. They are absolutely brilliant, and I recommend them to every Christian parent. Here's the special offer. You can buy them from Amazon. They cost $30, $29.99 on Amazon. We can get we buy copies on our own. And so if you will email me to info@crazycoolfamily.com, I'll send it to you for $20. And you can get both of them for $20 a piece. I just want to see how many people listen to the podcast and would be willing to email me and ask for them. Then it's a hassle for us to do it. That's why we put them on Amazon, because they're so much easier to get. But if you will send us an email to info@crazycoolfamily.com, and we will arrange payment with you, and we'll give you a discount, and we'll send you a signed copy of both guides for $20 a piece. And just to, we just want to launch this. We want to get them in your hands, and we think that, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what's going on, and so there you go. There's a special offer.
Great idea. I love it.
And so, in the meantime, happy Valentine's Day. Where are we going on Valentine's Day? Do we have any idea?
I think you're the one that plans that.
Oh, gosh, I better get after it. Obviously, we're recording before Valentine's Day, but in the meantime, and also just check out our website, new website, a lot of new stuff going on. We will be telling you about it as we launch this year and launch this season. We are super excited to continue our series, this podcast season on relationships, and very excited to have you for my wife, Suzanne. Happy Valentine's Day, and thank you for all the years with you and raising our family. So, any parting words for us?
Nope.
All good. Go be crazy parents, crazycoolfamily.com.